Hi everyone, I'm Josh Weissman. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I'm the founder of Water Cooler TV.
Hey guys, I'm Evan. I'm 17. I'm from New Jersey, and I am one of the co-founders of Water Cooler TV.
Hi, I'm Alan Shabbat. I'm 16. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
And this week we have a guest, Eli Mizrahi.
Hi, I'm Eli Mizrahi. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Joss. How's it going, Alan? I'm 16 and I'm in Brooklyn, New York with Alan.
We're going to start off this episode with talking about the NBA season, which is starting Tuesday, December 22nd, a couple of days before Christmas. And I just want to hear everybody's input on whether they think it's a good idea to start then, whether they think it's a bad idea to start then, and why they would like that. Evan, you can start.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it's probably a bad idea. Not that it's an awful idea, but I think that the players should be given more time. They just finished up a really weird and much longer season. So they're not being, their bodies aren't being given enough time to recover because they were playing, back-to-back games in the playoffs. It was a very tight schedule at the end there. And, I think they should be home with their families for the holidays. It's a special time and they're, stuck down there in the bubble. So I think why not push the season back a little bit?
Alan, why don't you tell us your opinion?
I agree with Evan because I just think that they've had a rough season. Their bodies still need to recover, and everybody's home during Christmas. I can understand they want to be home with their families.
Okay, Eli, let's hear yours.
So I was doing some research about this actually, and it turns out that the people before the bubble, they haven't played an NBA game in about 284 days. But then the people that were in the bubble, 74 games, 74 days. That's ridiculous. And like LeBron, he was complaining he didn't want it, but then he realized that it was better for the NBA and that they need it. Also, I agree with Evan with the Christmas thing. People they need their holidays, they need their time off. And also they're not even close to fully recovered because I remember watching Jimmy Butler. He was coming off of an interview. The man was waddling off with ice packs on his legs.
Yeah,
So,
no.
I don't know about the starting time, but I think it needs to happen now.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point that you actually bring up, that it's been the gap between the teams that were in the playoffs versus the teams that weren't. If it were to be pushed back, it's hard because if it were to be pushed back, maybe it gives those teams more of an advantage and the teams that were in the playoffs more of a disadvantage. Exactly. So it's actually a good point that you bring that up.
See, I think that's a good idea to start it because I feel like everybody's home, they're bored, there's nothing really that they can do during COVID. They need something to stimulate their brains. So people are going to turn on the TV, and a lot of people like watching sports. I understand that the players want to be home with their families during Christmas, but also during Christmas time, there's only a certain amount of players or teams that play on Christmas. I think maybe there's 5 or 6 games every year on Christmas. So the rest of the players are staying home.
Yeah, I don't know. I still look at it from the players aspect. About the end of that NBA season, it was a pretty entertaining finals, I thought, at least, being a Heat fan. It was pretty cool to see them back there. Los Angeles won, of course, 4-2. And I mean, we just saw a totally different side of Jimmy Butler. He was out there playing, maybe he was on the bench for 30 seconds. It was a great, what?
Played the full game, 3 games.
Yeah, great run overall. Those young guys, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, all played extremely, extremely well. They totally deserved to be there. And they had also played well during the regular season. So, and I think part of almost the reason that they sort of excelled in the playoffs, there's no travel aspect, and the away home game didn't really have as much of an effect because they're all playing at this one spot.
Arena.
Right. Yeah. So the away crowd for someone like Tyler Hero, that's a quiet gym. It's a quiet gym they're playing in. So the crowd isn't really going to affect him as much as it might if he's up in Boston, where that's like a a rowdier crowd.
Yeah, I agree. I feel, but a lot of players they feed off of the crowd, so like that's a huge aspect. Like Jimmy Butler, he literally like stands and goes like this to the crowd. Like they all fuel off that. So I feel like it was a lot harder for them to do it, but they still did it anyways.
But whenever they were doing in the NBA bubble, they had like those monitors on the side, so because the players wanted it there. The players wanted it to feel like they were sort of playing at a home game or an away game.
I feel like going into the playoffs, they weren't looked as like the top caliber team. I feel like they were looked as a team that were like, no, they're there, they're good, but are they champion material?
Now, I'm going to bring in Fred VanVleet's free agency right now. People are saying, and I agree, that Fred VanVleet is going to go to the Miami Heat. And I think that's a good idea because Goran Dragic is old. I don't even think he played that many games, if any games, in the finals. They both play the same position, Fred VanVleet and Goran Dragic. And I think that Fred VanVleet would then be their starting point guard.
Yeah, like I see him as a leader for sure on that team. He's not as a leader, but he's just one of those more experienced guys. Goran Dragic did play in the playoffs, but I think it was in that final series where he tore something.
Tore something in his foot.
Something in his foot and really was out for at least 2 games. And when he came back, he really wasn't the same.
Goran Dragic. He's also a free agent right now. So in my opinion, I don't think he's going to be re-signed to any team. I think he's going to have to call it quits right now. Maybe he'll go to someplace in China, somewhere else.
I think that the upcoming seasons, the Heat, they're going to come in with a new type of energy. They just came back from the finals. They can use that to their advantage. They're going to say, look where we got. We could not have gotten there if not for all the players. And now if Fred VanVleet can go there, can land a spot on the Miami roster, I see them being another playoff team.
And also, Fred VanVleet already has a ring. Fred VanVleet won a ring with Toronto.
Here's the question. Should he be leaving? He could be the future of that team. Kyle Lowry, he's getting old. He's getting good. So I feel like in the future, it's going to be based off Kyle Lowry and Siakam.
It doesn't really matter with Fred VanVleet because Siakam already has all the attention on him.
It doesn't matter about attention. It matters about the skill set. If you're going to have an amazing point guard that's playing sick, and then you have Siakam, so it adds on to make one big powerhouse of a team.
I mean, when he won that ring back in 2018 or whenever it was.
It was the 2018-2019 season.
Yeah, so Kawhi kind of carried that team. It wasn't all him. He was a big contributor to that winning season.
Kawhi and Siakam carried it.
Yeah, I mean, so he was kind of carried to it a little bit. While he did contribute, I still think he's a great player, and he's, he came from I think he was undrafted. He barely.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
So he brings the same mentality as Jimmy Butler. The thing is with signing with Miami is that I just saw on Bleacher Report today that he said he wants to get paid. So I don't know if Miami wants to do that this offseason. Well, they can re-sign Goran Dragic for much less, maybe a 1 to 2 year deal, sign him for much less, and then get Giannis the next postseason.
Well, how much cap space do they have?
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Right, exactly. So then they're also they have to manage, do they want to give Bam a super max? Do they want to?
Right now,
Bam
they have $36.6 million in their cap space, assuming that Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn are retained.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that they will be.
And they'll be out $21 million if Kelly Olynyk decides to opt in.
So I don't know. Kelly Olynyk is good off the bench. If he's going to opt out or if they're just not going to sign him, then I'd say chase after, try and sign on Goran and then chase after Giannis that next postseason. And then because Jimmy really just needs one more piece. And I think they can do better next year because it's a more developed team. Those rookies that we saw this year, or not rookies, but some rookies, some younger guys.
Tyler Hero.
Even more developed, right? Hero and Kendrick Nunn are going to be even more developed. And that team now has some playoff experience, and they still have Jimmy Butler as their leader. So I'm not as worried about that, but it's going to, it'll be interesting to see what they do next postseason. I think they still should chase after Giannis. Tying into more of this offseason, DeMar DeRozan, who played for the Spurs now for a few years, is a free agent. So where should he go?
Okay. So now the rumors are saying that he's going to go to the Nets. Now I agree with that. I think that's a good place for him because DeMar DeRozan is a shooting guard. The Nets already have a point guard. They already have a small forward. So if they get a shooting guard right now, then that's going to be three places that they have good players. And they have enough cap space, and I think they should sign him. I think it's a good investment for them.
I mean, a problem that I would have with that though is now they have Kyrie, KD, and then say they signed DeRozan. They had Dinwiddie last season, and now let's assume it's the starting lineup is Kyrie, DeRozan, KD, Jared Allen, and someone else. It's like they're gonna have to space the court, and they're gonna have to share the ball because Kyrie and KD, they're dominant with the ball in their hands. You give the ball to those guys with the last shot of the game. You do the same for DeRozan, I think. So I don't know how they're gonna share the ball there. I don't know I haven't heard other rumors of teams pursuing him.
So I actually heard of the Knicks pursuing him because what I've heard is that they need the Knicks. They're terrible right now. Like since like 2013, like RJ Barrett's gonna change everything. Well, newsflash, he didn't. And like why? He's a rookie. Of course, like he's good, but there's no one on that team that's like a leader and is a veteran.
Yeah, I think the Knicks just need a Steve Cohen. They need someone to buy that team, kick the front office, and sign DeRozan. Like that would be insane for the Knicks.
And I agree. James Dolan has to sell that team, but he's never going to do that. He's too stuck up. He's too selfish. That's never going to happen.
I have one more thing to say about DeMar DeRozan.
All right, so then just hop right into it, I guess.
Yeah, before I bring up the Bucks.
Okay, so do you guys think that there's a chance that DeMar DeRozan could go back to the Raptors? Do you think he would be open to it in general?
I don't think he's mad at the Raptors. Like Kawhi was having a whole fit when he got traded. Where he refused to play for them, and it was a whole big thing.
I could still see him going back to Toronto. I think in San Antonio, he could re-sign there because they do have some pieces like DeJounte Murray and Bryn Forbes and other guys who are still developing. So if he wants to stay there and, that's still a competitive Western Conference now with the Warriors back, with the Trailblazers, the Nuggets, like all those other teams that made the playoffs, he could re-sign there, but I think he would still be totally open to going back to Toronto. I feel like he just misses it there. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it, but I think he also wants to win a championship.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and there was this one game where he actually played Toronto, and I'll never forget. I was watching the game. The man went off in that game, first of all, and they called it his revenge game, which it was because they traded him when he was at home and what he's done. And there was one play where he was driving, and it was probably one of the best dunks I've seen in my whole life, and he just dunked on someone, and it was huge. It was so underlooked. And you guys could look at it later. Maybe Josh can put it up or something. But it was crazy. And I feel like, so I don't know if he's open to going back, but I see your points, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of going off, What about Drew Brees? Drew Brees demolished the Buccaneers in this past game. I have no words besides for amazing for Drew Brees' performance. We've seen Taysom Hill on a lot of plays in that game, and we've even seen, I think, their backup, Jameis Winston. Yeah, I've seen him for a couple plays, but that's really it. Taysom Hill, I would say, really took charge during that game, and all I could say is I wanted much more from Brady, more than just 3 points on the board.
He didn't even score those 3 points. He had nothing to do with any of the scores.
Oh, yeah. So Brady
threw 3 interceptions. Brady did not do very well in that game.
And even the first time, I'm just going to look at his stats again, like, even the first time that he had played the Saints, it was very similar performances. And the Saints are in that division now. So it's different when you're not playing the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets. Now he's going up against legit competition. I'm looking at the first time that they played, he threw at least 2 interceptions. And, the first game he had 2 touchdowns, but this game he didn't have a single touchdown. He's down there with literal weapons. Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. On paper, that team looks stacked. And Bruce Arians, as the head coach, that team should be undefeated right now. Obviously, Chris Godwin has been having some injury trouble. He's on my fantasy team.
Terrible.
It sucks. So he's having some injury trouble. So, he's not always there, reliable there. But that's really embarrassing.
I mean, they're a good team, but I feel like the only reason this happens because, first of all, the Saints defense, I've got to give a standing ovation for them because the way they played was very good. And I think the reason that I keep losing this game, look at every time, the D-line of every team is insane. And under pressure of the O-line, Brady cannot throw the ball. He is not used to it. When he was in New England, he's one of the best O-lines in the freaking league. The man was, and when the man had time, the game was over, which it was. And it showed how many rings he'd gotten. And every time there's pressure, it's just done. Like say Chris Godwin, but you also have AB now, which could be huge impact. And I remember there was one play where Brady was just throwing up a miracle ball, hoping something would happen, and he was picked. That was a desperation game, and I was just ridiculous.
I was disappointed. It was Antonio Brown's first game back. I was hoping to see something amazing. And at a certain point, the score was 31-0. They were getting their kicked.
Yeah, I mean, looking just at their schedule, they go on 2 great 3-game winning streaks where Brady, he goes for 3 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. We've seen some inconsistent performances. I think the question is he legit without the Patriots system?
I hate Tom Brady. I hate the Patriots. I'm a Jet fan. Don't get me started on that.
We're off.
As a Giants fan, I can say that the Patriots hate us.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But now, I don't think that the Patriots had that big of an impact on Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady had that big of an impact on the Patriots. Because as you guys can see, Tom Brady left, the Patriots have not been the same. The Patriots have not been anywhere near the same. I mean, it's like they had Gronkowski last year. The only thing that changed from last year to this year was they got Cam Newton instead. They're
Cam
not
also had Corona for 2 weeks. He was out for a while. And I feel like ever since he's gotten Corona, I don't know if it's a medical thing, but I know he's sore neck now from the play with the Jets. They grabbed his head. I don't know. I have him on fantasy also, so I'm reading up about it. And they haven't been the same team. But also you see the first 2 weeks, Cam Newton, that Seattle game, they almost pulled through. But that game performance by Cam was unbelievable. So I feel like if they just get that momentum back, they could go back to being a top guy.
Speaking of the Patriots, they just barely stretched out a win against the Jets. Kicked a 51-yard field goal to win the game. The Jets blew it. That's all I could say about it.
Okay, so me being a Jets fan, seeing them going, I wish I could say undefeated, but I don't even know what the word would be for undefeated.
Undefeated, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the word is.
I'm pretty sure the word is just bad.
Oh my god.
But to see the Jets going now, like losing every single game, and they were up almost this whole game until the last quarter, until the last minute of the last quarter, they were up, and they lost by a 51-yard field goal.
I think it's funny that they not only did they blow the game, but they almost won it, and it decreases their chances of securing that number 1 pick. It's almost like they don't even know how to tank properly.
Trevor Lawrence, here we come.
Yeah, you know what? If I were Trevor Lawrence, I would stay back a year in college. The poor Sam Darnold, you've seen what it's done to him. I watched his pro day, and he was slinging the ball in the rain. Just such a sad story there. They also need a Steve Cohen. They just need someone to come in there, fire Adam Gase, kick the front office out, whatever you need to do, and start rebuilding.
What I'm hearing is that every New York team that I like is a new owner. The Mets got a new owner. The Jets need a new owner. The Knicks need a new owner. That's what I'm hearing. I'm happy that I moved to a place that has okay sports with the Heat
Great
and the
team.
Dolphins. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, spread the word, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you.